What's happening 6,560 feet below the South China Sea? That has U.S. defense planners losing sleep. The South China Sea. 6 nations claim it. The U.S. Navy patrols it constantly. Satellites photograph every inch of its surface. Every artificial island China builds triggers international protests and diplomatic confrontations. The world watches this water more closely than almost anywhere else on Earth. Nobody is watching what's happening 2,000 meters below it. On March 1, 2025, Beijing confirmed construction approval for something unprecedented. A permanent manned research station at 6,560 feet depth. Deeper than most military submarines operate. Deeper than any diver can reach. Deeper than international enforcement can practically function. 6 scientists, 45-day missions. A classified power source experts believe is nuclear. Completion target, 2030. And here's what makes this different from every previous South China Sea dispute. You cannot sanction a station you cannot reach. But before you think this is purely military, it's not. Because directly beneath the station's location sits something that changes everything. 80 billion tons of frozen methane deposits. Flammable ice. It looks like ice, burns like fuel, and there's more of it under the South China Sea than the entire proven oil reserves of the Persian Gulf. The most valuable energy deposit on Earth sits under the most contested body of water on Earth, and China just approved a permanent manned station directly above it. While that station is being built underwater, something else just switched on above it. October 21st, 2025, off Shanghai's coast. China turned on the world's first commercial underwater data center. Not a pilot project. A fully operational facility with China Telecom, Tencent, and SenseTime already processing 7,000 AI queries per second. This isn't one story, it's 3. A permanent station at the ocean floor, the world's first commercial underwater data center, and 80 billion tons of flammable ice beneath both. Together they add up to something America has never faced. China isn't exploring the ocean floor, it's moving in. So what exactly gets built at 2,000 meters? Because keeping 6 humans alive at that pressure for 45 days isn't civil engineering. It's aerospace engineering applied to the ocean. At 2,000 meters, pressure hits 200 atmospheres. Every square inch of the hull absorbs nearly 3,000 pounds of force. Continuously. Permanently. From every direction, simultaneously. This is why China didn't assign it to a construction company. The Chinese Academy of Sciences is building it. And they named it exactly what it is, a deep-sea space station. Right now, the maximum time anyone can study the deep South China Sea is 15 hours, the operational limit of current submersibles. Every significant discovery has been made in 15-hour windows. China's station changes that to 45 days. That's not a research upgrade. That's the difference between visiting and moving in permanently. But here's where it gets interesting. The facility doesn't operate alone. Extending outward is a network of autonomous underwater vehicles, surface drones, seabed observatories, and fiber optic cables. What Chinese researchers call a 4-dimensional monitoring system, tracking everything moving through the water, on the surface, and through the air. Simultaneously, the Mengxiang drill ship, a 33,000-ton vessel capable of drilling deeper than the Mariana Trench, is already conducting seabed surveys in the South China Sea right now, building the geological database the station's scientists will use in 2030. The seabed around the planned location contains over 300 methane-rich zones that have already yielded 600 previously unknown marine species. Some carry enzymes being studied for cancer treatment. The mineral deposits contain cobalt and nickel at 3 times the concentration of any land-based mine on Earth. The global cobalt market, critical for EV batteries and military hardware, currently depends on supply chains through the Democratic Republic of Congo. Deep-sea cobalt at triple concentration, extracted by a country with a permanent station sitting directly above it, restructures that entire market. The scientists living there aren't just researchers. They're the human presence that makes permanent resource extraction and strategic surveillance possible at a depth nobody else can reach. U.S. defense experts at Duke University warned explicitly, the station will almost certainly track submarines and surface ships, conduct intelligence operations, and monitor every vessel moving through $3.4 trillion in annual trade. The autonomous vehicles, they noted, could be reprogrammed for mine warfare. Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense detected 62 Chinese military aircraft near its airspace the same week the station was announced. The timing wasn't accidental. Now look at America's response. A project called Proteus, planned for Curaçao. Still in the partnership phase, no federal funding from Congress, no construction timeline, no completion date. China breaks ground in 2025, opens in 2030. America has a proposal. And 2030 is 5 years away. Behind the station, behind the data center, behind the flammable ice program, there's a system. To understand how China is simultaneously building all of this by 2030, you have to understand what happens when that system decides a technology matters. Start with the data center, because this is where the story gets uncomfortable. In 2018, Microsoft sank 864 servers off Scotland's coast. Project Natick. 2 years later, they analyzed every server inside. The results were extraordinary. Underwater servers were 8 times more reliable than identical land-based servers. No humidity, no oxygen corrosion, no temperature fluctuation. The ocean floor turned out to be one of the most stable environments for computer hardware on Earth. Microsoft proved underwater data centers outperform land-based infrastructure on every metric: reliability, energy efficiency, cooling costs, environmental impact. Microsoft's 2024 conclusion: shut it down entirely. Spokesperson Noel Walsh stated explicitly they won't build more. The most consequential tech company in the world proved it works, then walked away. Just a proven concept in a published paper while the company moved on. China took that research, moved from proven concept to commercial deployment in under 30 months. October 21st, 2025, the world's first commercial underwater data center switches on. Built by Hailenyun with $226 million investment, powered 97% by offshore wind. Cooling energy dropped from the 40 to 50% land centers burn to below 10%. Seawater pumped directly through server radiators using the ocean's thermal stability. Total electricity, 30% less than land facilities. Freshwater consumption, 0. Land centers use 5 million gallons daily, equivalent to a town of 50,000 people. This uses none? Current numbers are already significant. The Hainan cluster processes 7,000 AI queries per second, analyzes 4 million images in 30 seconds, computing power equivalent to 30,000 high-end gaming PCs running simultaneously. And Phase 1 operates at 2.3 megawatts out of 24 megawatt capacity, less than 10% of what it was built to do. The clients are already there. China Telecom, Tencent, SenseTime, 7 other AI companies, processing real workloads on the ocean floor off Shanghai right now. But here's what changes the calculation. 5 major Chinese companies already signed agreements to build a 500 megawatt offshore wind-powered cluster, more than 20 times current capacity. Shanghai's target for intelligent computing cloud industry, $28 billion. The ocean adjacent to China's coastline is essentially unlimited expansion space for AI infrastructure requiring no land, no fresh water, no conventional cooling, and no disputed territory. Microsoft handed the world the blueprint. China built the building, now China is building the city. Now bring the flammable ice into focus, because this ties the entire strategy together. Methane hydrate isn't a future energy source. China already proved extraction works. In 2017, Chinese engineers conducted the world's first successful trial in the South China Sea. Peak output: 35,000 cubic meters from 1,266 meters depth. The extraction problem was solved 8 years ago. What remained unsolved? How to efficiently convert extracted methane to usable fuel without the enormous energy cost of conventional processes requiring temperatures above 800 degrees Celsius. September 2025. A Hainan University team published results in Nature Communications that eliminated that barrier. A new nanoscale palladium catalyst converts methane to methanol at just 70 degrees, not 800. Conversion efficiency, 99.7%. Financial analysts called it a milestone, the last major technical obstacle between China and commercial methane hydrate extraction just disappeared in a single paper. And the commercial extraction target, announced before that paper published, is 2030. The same year the station opens. The same year Mengsheng finishes seabed surveys. The convergence isn't accidental. The strategic dimension keeps U.S. defense planners awake. Right now, 85% of China's oil imports travel through the Strait of Malacca, a narrow waterway between Malaysia and Indonesia. The U.S. Navy could theoretically blockade in conflict. That single choke point is one of China's most significant strategic vulnerabilities. Every war game, every conflict simulation identifies Malacca as a pressure point. If China extracts commercial methane hydrate from the South China Sea by 2030, that pressure point disappears. China wouldn't need 85% of its energy traveling through a waterway the United States can close. The geopolitical leverage that choke point provides, leverage shaping US-China calculations for decades, dissolves the moment extraction becomes operational. And here's where three stories become one. The deep-sea station provides permanent human presence to monitor extraction operations at depths no surface vessel can efficiently support. The Mengxiang drillship provides drilling and surveying capability. The 2025 Catalyst breakthrough provides conversion efficiency. The underwater data center cluster provides AI computing infrastructure to process geological data, manage autonomous vehicles, and optimize extraction in real time. These aren't separate projects by separate teams with separate budgets. They're components of a single integrated system whose parts only make complete sense together. The military picture completes the architecture. A permanent station at 2,000 meters with autonomous vehicles, seabed sensors, and fiber optic monitoring extending in every direction creates surveillance capability. No surface or aerial system can replicate or counter. Current ocean monitoring relies on surface buoys, periodic submarine passes, and satellite imaging. A seabed-anchored sensor network provides continuous upward surveillance of the entire water column. Every submarine generates an acoustic signature. A fixed seabed network at that depth detects those signatures with precision and persistence no mobile platform can match. Every U.S. Navy asset transiting the South China Sea would be visible to the station in ways it currently isn't. And there's nothing the Navy can do about a sensor network operating at depths its own submarines rarely reach. The $3.4 trillion in annual trade passing through the South China Sea moves through shipping lanes directly above the station's location. Container ships, oil tankers, military vessels, all passing over a permanent Chinese installation that can monitor, record, and in conflict, direct autonomous vehicles toward. This is what Duke experts stated explicitly. The autonomous vehicles could be reprogrammed for mine warfare. A research station with mine warfare capability at 2,000 meters in the world's most important trade route isn't just a research station. The research is real. The science is genuine. And the military capability sits right next to it, 6,560 feet below the waterline, where no one can reach it and no one can remove it. America identified every one of these opportunities before China did. It knew about methane hydrates. It proved underwater data centers work. It proposed a deep-sea research station. It understood the strategic value of the South China Sea seabed better than anyone. And it acted on none of them at the scale the opportunity demanded. Microsoft walked away from Project Natick. Proteus remains a proposal. Commercial methane hydrate extraction has no American timeline. The U.S. hasn't ratified UNCLOS, the primary treaty governing these ocean floor activities, meaning America's legal standing to challenge what China is building, is weakened by its own failure to sign the document that would give it standing to object. Scientists couldn't explain what happened next. America had the knowledge, the technology, the research, and the strategic understanding. What it didn't have was the system to convert any of it into something real before someone else did. Then they discovered something shocking. The gap between knowing something works and actually building it can be measured in empires. By 2030, 6 Chinese scientists will live at the bottom of the South China Sea. Above them, $3.4 trillion in annual trade. Below them, 80 billion tons of flammable ice worth more than the Persian Gulf. Around them, a sensor network watching everything that moves in one of the most important bodies of water on Earth. And surrounding all of it, an underwater data center cluster scaling toward 500 megawatts, powered by wind, cooled by the ocean, processing the AI workloads that make the entire system function. The last frontier just got a landlord, and the lease runs forever. If you want to stay ahead of what's actually being built before it becomes tomorrow's headline, subscribe. And tell us in the comments, does this concern you?